Hillary?
I think they're both trying for that same, what they believe is the same opening, right? Which is this progressive wing where, you know, you could see Hillary Clinton seems a bit uncomfortable tacking to the left. She's trying, but you can see that it's not in her comfort zone. I mean, just watch her on this trade deal, right? She's been doing gymnastics with it.
Would Hillary Clinton do this? Here's Bernie Sanders making bold calls to the financial industry.
It is time to break up the largest financial institutions in this country. Wall Street cannot continue to be an island unto itself, gambling trillions in risky financial instruments while expecting the public to bail it out. If a bank is too big to fail, that bank is too big to exist.
And the answer to that, Mark Halpern, is no. Hillary Clinton will not be saying anything like that. Nobody else will either, despite the fact
that is true.
There are a lot of people in the Republican and Democratic Party who agree with that.
On the left and the right. I mean, to me, the question, I agree with Chuck, only I think one person will probably emerge as her competition. You know, what is Bernie Sanders' ceiling in the Iowa caucuses? What is his ceiling in the New Hampshire primary?
What is it?
I think it's above 25. I'm not sure how high he can go, but if Hillary Clinton gets less than, 65% of the vote, people will wonder about her support.
Well, that was the next question. What's the Gene McCarthy standard? Gene McCarthy, for those at home, 1968, fared much better than expected in New Hampshire, damaged LBJ, who soon after announced that he wasn't going to be running for re-election. Pat Buchanan obviously hurt George H.W. Bush in New Hampshire the same way in 1992. So what's the number?
The trick for her is normally if you're a front runner and you're challenged by an insurgent, you attack them, right?
Right.
Hillary Clinton attacking Bernie Sanders, I think, is a tricky piece of business.
Well, why would Hillary Clinton attack Bernie Sanders?
Well,
why would she attack anybody?
Because of the fear of the Gene McCarthy example. This is something we were writing about yesterday. Where there is a point. This is the worst type of opponent for her. If she had somebody who was seen as a plausible alternative, this is no offense to meaning somebody that you actually thought could be the nominee.
Or somebody who you could go to and say, hey, listen, play cool.
Yeah.
You know what? There's a great HHS. You can't play with Bernie.
No.
Bernie doesn't want to be HHS secretary.
And I think Sanders, you asked what the number is. I don't know. Is it north of 35? If he's flirting with 40 somewhere, then all of a sudden, Gene McCarthy, and all of a sudden other Democrats go, wow, if she's struggling against Bernie Sanders, imagine if I were running against her. You could picture 3 or 4
Do you think those people were bussed in?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
No. He's got a real following. He's had a real following. Trust me. I've seen it myself on the left. You get it on social media. He's got a serious following. It's an intense one. I don't know if it's bigger than 20 to 25.
What if he asks those people to cross the border and work for him in the primary, which he will do?
Well, of course they will.
Yeah, they will.
By the way, Vermont, I was just going to say, the New Hampshire is where he's dangerous, and he gets in the 40s, and then you get if she looks vulnerable, it's sort of like Mitt Romney 4 years ago. He's struggling against Rick Santorum. And it sort of punctured a little bit of his
But Romney could go negative and did go negative on Santorum and Gingrich. Yeah. I still struggle to see how Hillary Clinton goes negative on Bernie.
I don't disagree.
Bernie Sanders, yesterday, too, he didn't just draw the distinction on policy with Hillary Clinton. It was personal. He did an interview with John Harwood on CNBC. They're sitting in a restaurant, and he said, the wealth that she has accumulated, I don't begrudge her. But how could she possibly relate to the problems that people are having? How could you relate to somebody who lives down the block and is struggling to feed their kids? He said the kind of wealth the Clintons have is isolating, and it has been for a long time. They can't relate to what's really happening out there.
And it's not just the wealth. It's the fact that Hillary Clinton, since 1978, has lived in governor's mansions or lived in the White House, other than 2 years, from 80 to 82, or been Secretary of State, or now has amassed a fortune approaching $200 million.
Well, she hasn't walked alone since 1992.
Yeah.
She hasn't been able to walk alone outside since 1992.
Well, and I mean, how much did she drive from 78 forward? I mean, I wonder when the last time she's gotten in the car and driven,
I think they drove in Arkansas. So.
This is the danger that they're in right now when you see this LLC story with Bill Clinton, which to me, in isolation, isn't that big of a deal. I'm sure there's plenty of journalists out there who are freelancers who have their own LLCs. It's not that. It's the idea that you throw all this together. It's like Mitt Romney, the way Obama turned him into otherness, meaning he's not one of us. The Clintons are accumulating a lot of they're not one of us items, you know, where you're just like, wow.
We were broke when we left the White House. Bill
I got to
Clinton
pay the
saying
bills.
I've got to get $550,000 a speech because I got to pay the bills.
And it all gets into the whole